Hey, welcome to episode 5 of the Gridiron Bros podcast. We finally changed the name. It's official. And our co-hosts, myself, Patrick, your Arlington Heights local.
Bear Scrub Aldo Library.
Yeah, Michael Weimerskirch, Pittsburgh native, Steel City Slayers, baby.
Awesome. And Mike, why don't you take us on the journey of going through the stuff today?
All right. We're going to go ahead and it's all right, real quick. Here we go. All right.
So, Bear Down and Out documentary. Is that something we want to cover? Or did we do that last time?
I believe we covered it releasing last time. It hadn't dropped yet.
Yeah, so. it released the day after. So I mean, yeah. I know I watched it. It was quite amazing. Lori Lightfoot is toxic AF. Like, woo!
For sure. Yeah, woo. Documentary was really well put together. Probably one of my favorite long form documentaries in a while. Only fitted 15 minutes long, so not too much of a commitment to watch, but definitely a good watch if you want to see how this whole entire thing unfolded. And it's very very interesting, the amount of non-communication there was on the city of Chicago's part for the Bears, I thought.
Oh yeah. And nothing against the actual person in charge of Soldier Field, the parks manager or whatever. Apparently communication between them was great, but the person who actually made the decisions, Lori Lightfoot, trash. Mike?
Yeah, I mean, it's, again, like, the deal for Soldier Field was kind of a 3-person thing, and unfortunately the mayoral office of the city of Chicago was acting like a middleman for that deal to go through, because all the money had to go, and they just weren't willing to budge on anything. They just thought the Bears would just sit down and play ball, but they very much underestimated the fact that the Bears did have options. So, yeah, that's 100% a fail on Mayor Lightfoot's resume, and she's going to be known as the mayor that let the Bears walk away.
Oh yeah, it's wonderful. I'm glad they came here. I live here. Mike, your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, this is all. I mean, I never thought I'd see this happen. I mean, yeah, I just, I'm working in operations. You have to, make deals and have conversations and work well with others, right? You'd think that they would have did everything in their power to try and keep the Bears, but it just, it didn't. It's weird. It's like they almost thought that they weren't going to do it.
Yeah, like, hey, why don't you go win some games in October? Yeah. Stop talking about this. Holy shit.
Best way to get someone to do something that you want is to insult them right to their face, right? I really don't understand the thought process there. Like, sometimes you gotta be a fan, sometimes you gotta be professional. Like, they were just not professional at all.
The revenue the city of Chicago lost is going to lose, just every 8 games a week, 8 games a year, and then if there's playoffs there,
and it's not just the taxes, but like the city of Chicago owns Soldier Field, and the Bears paid rent for that, so they're losing out on that guaranteed money that they had for so long, and the Bears are able to pipe up, I believe, around half as much as what they paid for Arlington Park just to get out that deal. They have an out for it, so the Bears could realistically leave whenever they want to go and start playing their new stadium as soon as it's ready to play ball in. So
yeah,
I mean, I'm a little upset that it's a dome, but I mean, hey, don't have to worry about it being cold during winter while
Super Bowls
game. And yeah, just like you said,
Super Bowls,
WrestleManias, it's gonna be great.
Yeah, I wanted to kind of clear up some misconceptions that people might have also. So, like, the Chicago Bears is trademarked. So what that means is they have full legal right nationally to that name. So that won't change. Another thing is per the NFL or like regulatory body and all that, another NFL team cannot move in 75 miles radius to a current team, which means that Chicago and Arlington Heights is not more than 75 miles away. It's like 10 miles away. So that means Soldier Field will not have another team. Another thing is
a lot of people thinking Jaguars.
Nope. Yeah, good luck with that. Go to Gary or something, or you can't even do Gary. You got to go further. So it's like, okay, cool. Then we have another thing, which is they can always back out of it. One of the things that happened when they went into a deal with the seller of the racetrack. So one of the stipulations was, if we go into this deal together, you are not allowed to look around for another place for a stadium, which included Soldier Field. So it's like the negotiations were done and over with as soon as they engaged and went into escrow for that Arlington racetrack, because the Arlington racetrack is a historical kind of place here in Arlington Heights, and the owner of it wanted it to be turned into something that it could still they could be proud of. It could still be historical, bring that history to it. I'm sure if they build stuff there, like if there's going to be some semblance of the racetrack there that you can look back and look at the history of the land. And so one of the stipulations, you cannot engage in another stadium anywhere else, land or anything, as soon as you engage with us. And once that happened, done deal. Even with a new mayor and stuff happening in Chicago, like it would be so hard to overturn this, because the money Chicago would have to literally pay for their full stadium in order for them to go back to Chicago, and pay the penalty they would have to pay. And I don't know what else, right? So pretty much, yes, it's not a done deal. Stuff's not built, but realistically talking, follow the money, and money talks, and it's going to Arlington Heights. There's really no way, but I'm 95% sure. Okay. Like 5% is like, if Chicago, because corruption in Chicago is large, and if they just decide to steal all the Chicago's money to bring back the stadium, I mean, they've done crazier things. So that would be so stupid, but like they might,
and add on, last thing I want to add on, like the city of Chicago still owes almost $700 million for the renovations on Soldier Field they did like
the
all
Bears
those years ago.
Not Chicago.
So I thought that was on the city of Chicago, since they
did the Bears owe it because of their loan. They've only been paying interest on it. The Bears did such a shitty job with that setup. They're literally paying 2 or 3 times the amount of that renovation in order to make it happen. So that debt is going to come due. So yes, they got to pay a penalty to get out of there, and they got to pay their debt for that stadium still. Although if it's mismanaged and all the things, I'm sure some kind of deal could be worked out in the court systems, or drag it along for a couple decades, or whatever the case may be, right? But they've only been paying interest on it, which is really crappy. So yeah, it's not Chicago. It's the Bears still owe for that stadium.
Gotcha.
Yeah. All right, Mike, you want to move on to the next one?
Yep, absolutely. All right. Derek Carr.
Woo!
It is home. 4-year, $150 million deal. What do you guys think, man? Saints coming through big.
It's like it fits him so well.
Yeah.
He is a Saint.
I mean, Dennis Allen was Derek Carr's first head coach, so kind of like pairing up with a guy that he came into the league with, and like the Saints do have some talent there. If Alvin Kamara's legal trouble doesn't make him miss time in the league, like they still have Michael Thomas, they have Chris Olave, who is a really good player. It's just I'm a little suspect on that defense. I'm not gonna lie, but that is a team that could probably find themselves back in the playoff hunt in a division that's pretty much wide open, especially since now that the Saints do have the best quarterback in that division again, with pretty much every team losing out on their quarterbacks from this previous season. So
yeah.
And then
I think that Derek Carr is going to do good. He'll shine. I think it's a good spot for him. It's a good money making, good money deal. I think for him. I mean, I think it's a solid place. I think he'll perform very well in that system. It's very good to quarterbacks. I mean, you can make some of the quarterbacks you can make Hill look good. I mean, come on, or a Drew Brees that can't throw the ball more than 5 yards. Like Derek Carr is going to do really well. Especially Thomas.
I will say part of that it was the fact that Sean Payton was there when those two things you mentioned happened.
Ooh.
And we don't know how good this offensive coordinator on the Saints can be when he has a quarterback who's very tenured in the league behind center. I feel for Jameis Winston. He dealt with a lot of struggles in trying to get to the place that he is in the league, and this is just another nail in the coffin for him, unfortunately. But that's just how it is. But Jameis Winston hasn't shown that he can be a top tier player in the NFL.
He was benched. He came back.
I think the Saints are the dark horse for next year, because think about this: Derek Carr in the last 5 years has been the comeback king of all quarterbacks. Yeah. So that's something to think about. The next thing is he never had a defense, and now he's going to, no matter how weirdly put together it is, it's still a very solid defense that gave Tom Brady trouble and other teams trouble. So if they can patch that up a little bit more too, that's going to be solid. And in such a weak division, I mean, I think they're going to make it to the playoffs. And I think, we'll see how he does. They might win the first round or second round. I think they're the dark horse.
Yeah, the Bucks, if they can figure out a quarterback situation, might be in a good spot, because they're but right now, yeah, I agree. You got to think Saints are the favorites now. I mean, Derek Carr's you got a Pro Bowl quarterback. You got some young talent, like Aldo mentioned, pretty right around average, above average on certain day defenses, that they can get better if they make the right moves, right pieces, and do maybe make another splash in free agency. And yeah, I mean, this team could definitely easily win that division. They almost did last year. So Andy Dalton, and
you're gonna be eating that jambalaya too. He gonna have some good food.
Oh yeah, don't forget Hill, man. That guy's a playmaker, and getting himself a competent quarterback makes him even more dangerous. So
yes, sir.
We're
moving on to Daniel Jones.
Yeah, absolutely.
Our next quarterback, overpaid. First 2 years, guaranteed. I believe it's $80 million. 40 a year. Are you kidding me?
I read an article saying that the Giants are paying for his potential, and that's just that's how you end up finding yourself in a DeMarcus Russell situation. I think this will end very badly for the Giants. Daniel Jones did have a rough first 3 years with a fairly terrible head coach, so I will give him that. We've seen Daniel Jones with some good coaching. I think they're hoping for a Josh Allen type ascendance with Daniel Jones, but usually you have to hope for that when in the beginning of a player's career, not right in the middle of it. So we'll see how this works out for them. As for now, I think the contract they signed him to is way, way too overpriced, in my opinion.
Yeah. Dude, he was having a not great year.
15 touchdowns.
When they were winning a lot of their games, he was playing not the best football. It was a lot of management, and I will say he didn't turn over the ball a lot, but he wasn't converting he wasn't getting first downs and driving down the field and scoring touchdowns. He really turned it on the last 4 games, I guess. And it's just I can't believe that got him, paid. I mean, dude, touchdowns, think about the heat Fields has got this season. I was discussing with Pat earlier, for a 17 touchdown, I know it was low passing yards. It was 2,200, but I mean, Daniel Jones threw last 15, and he threw 150 more passes right around that ball mark there. I mean, he had 3,000 yards, but that's on 150 passes. So I'd be willing to bet if we took Fields' average per throw and threw 150 extra attempts on there, he'd probably be around 1,000 himself and probably in the 20s for the tutties. So, and the fact that he ran for 1,200 yards too.
Which one would you take?
One guy, and then the other guy deserves a 4-year, $160 million deal. I just think this is a terrible signing, and I think this is gonna keep Giants in that that right on that cusp of being great. They're gonna franchise tag an older Barkley who just had a rebound year. Will that continue? We did see an injury come in there a little bit last year, affect them much, but I don't know.
So let me play a devil's advocate to this. So the reason I think that they did this is the owner and like the franchise and all that, they're tired of it. They're tired of not having someone. They brought in a coach. Yeah, Daniel Jones seems to be potentially good. They think they could squeeze more. They're expecting to squeeze more out of him because of this. But really, it's because, hey, Eli Manning took about 3 or 4 years to finally be good. This guy's finally looking good. Same boat. Hey, there's stability. We're not the worst team anymore. A 5-win team. Let me just pay a little extra here to not be bad, and maybe make it to the playoffs. And we could cheer on it, and we can cling to the hope while we rebuild maybe culture or something like that. And then maybe in the next couple of years, draft someone and kind of piece it together. Again, it's not the best approach. I think the best approach is what the Bears are doing. Finally get to say that, cut it out, gut it, and build it from scratch. But again, different market over there, and they got the Jets, they got this. They're like, I don't want to be the worst. And so I think that's really what he's paying for is I just want some stability for a couple of years. Let's get some stability here.
Yeah. To add on to that, I will say I did look at Daniel Jones' stats, and while his touchdown ratio does leave much to be desired, he did throw for 3,200 yards and did have 700 yards rushing. So he was at that 3,900 yard total yard range. So yeah, I get it. Yards aren't everything. But like Mike said, you got to convert on those touchdowns. You got to make the plays in the red zone, which they clearly relied on Barkley for all of that.
Yeah.
But you cannot be that guy that when your team falls behind, they can't rely on you to score. You know?
Yeah, he's got to produce more. Touchdown yards to me is, that means you're completing passes, and that's obviously a great stat. But I really think sometimes yards can misconstrue his completion percentage wasn't bad either. I'm not sitting here saying this guy's terrible, but to gamble your franchise on a pretty average season being his best.
Yeah.
This is just to me it wasn't the right move. I think they could have freed up a lot of money and made some moves this year, especially with the carousel of quarterbacks here.
I mean, look at Jameis Winston's final season in Tampa, 5,000 yards throwing, and he threw 30 touchdowns, but also had 30 interceptions with it.
Interceptions. It was second in the league in touchdowns. Yeah, but doesn't cut it. You threw 30 picks.
Exactly. So. Doesn't matter.
Okay. Let's move on to this. Franchise tag for rushers. Jacobs, Barkley. Well, Jackson's a quarterback, right? And then you have Pollard all tagged. I think we have Barkley and Jackson are franchise tagged with an open franchise tag, or what's the term?
Jackson is tagged
unrestricted,
with a non-exclusive rights tag.
Non-exclusive.
So
non-exclusive. Okay.
Any team that offers Jackson a contract that he accepts, the Ravens have the right to match it, and Jackson would have to sign that contract.
Yep. Or we'll get 2 first-round picks.
Yeah, yes. Or the Ravens could decline to match the offer, and then whatever team has to forfeit their next 2 first-round picks.
Yeah.
So that's where that situation is. Everyone else on this list is an exclusive rights franchise tag. So
okay, it is.
they are not allowed to negotiate with other teams. The teams can negotiate with their direct franchise, so then they can negotiate a trade and then make a long-term and then create a long-term contract afterwards. But everyone else on here is pretty much stuck with their team besides Jackson, who does have some options.
Yeah, Jackson's not going to be a Raven. I mean, after last season, not showing up to the last game, I don't see him coming back in a Ravens uniform. I mean, I think the Ravens see that, which is why they are allowing this to even happen. They could have just signed him and been like, "You're ours," but obviously they're willing to part ways. I think that was probably as a leader, you got one of your leaders on your team not coming to a game. That means a lot to the team. That impacts a lot of people. So yeah, I don't see him. They did tag him, right? They're not just going to let this guy walk, but I don't see him as a Raven next season.
Yeah, but I mean, like the Falcons, the Dolphins, the Commanders, and Panthers all reported.
I did.
They will not
see
pursue.
An article. Oh yeah. They pretty much all backed out.
New England, so
I would love to see him in New England. I would like to see him anywhere, honestly.
I can tell you, I would not want to see him in New England, but
oh no, that'd be terrible for you.
And it can be a great destination for him. Belichick he just needs a guy that can throw the ball in front. People got this stigma against Jackson that he can't throw, but the guy's got a rifle and he can put the ball where he needs to. He had 17 touchdowns last year before he had that, I was a 7-8 game injury. So
people forget that he won league MVP while being second in passing touchdowns.
34 season.
Yep. And then Jacobs, I'm glad he got his some money, got to stay there. I think he's a great fit for the Raiders. Barkley,
he's going to be their workhorse.
I think I don't know. I think Barkley. I think the Giants have something up their sleeve in terms of a trade potentially with Barkley, but who knows? Jackson, they're trying to hold on, and Pollard. That means Elliott's gone, right? They're not going to keep him. Rather draft a rookie in the third round, fourth round than keep
the rest of
Elliott.
Yeah, the rest of Elliott's contract's non-guaranteed, so the Cowboys could really go ahead and either renegotiate the contract with him so he gets less money, but he has at least some guaranteed money then for the rest of his time in the Cowboys, or they could just outright cut him and not owe him a thing.
I get a minimum.
But they might. I mean, if he did say he'd take less money, I don't know how much money they got to throw around. To be honest, they're still in a bad situation with their cap.
Throw him $500,000.
And I know he won't take stupid low money, right? He's going to want to be paid still because he's got his legs still. He could still produce for a team. So I also wouldn't be surprised to see Elliott in a new uniform next year too. I mean, that tag means that's the man that's getting the job. So
I wouldn't be surprised if he went to like the Rams or something. They're always like shifty when it's like those kind of stuff.
Running back, absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
Miami,
or even the Bills, right? They don't have a good running game.
Yep. Teams with high cap, not a lot of stuff not a lot of play. They can, they might be out. Elliott might
high potential, cheap player with and you can try him out for a year.
We can't rule out the Saints either if Alvin Kamara is not able to play the season too.
That's true.
Take that into account as well.
Yeah, that's true. All right. Want to move on to the next one, Mike?
Yeah, I'm gonna actually flow that one into the Joe Mixon legal update here.
Why don't you update it?
Yeah, Aldo, you want to kind of run through the Mixon?
Yeah, so supposedly the report on Joe Mixon was that he had a guest at his house in which he pulled a gun on them and told them that it doesn't matter what they say, that the police can't touch him no matter what he chooses to do. And realistically, he proved himself to be right, because I saw a report yesterday that said that the charges were dropped against him. So
So I have the official report kind of here.
Go ahead.
And so basically, he had something similar at his address last year.
Yeah,
and those charges were dropped. This time around, what happened is that it seemed to have been that there was so early Tuesday morning, 5 hours after responding to a shots fired by the Hamilton County Sheriff's deputies entered the home of the Bengals running back Joe Mixon. A call that left a juvenile injured in Anderson Township. Chancellor Wynn and Brian Paloff of Fox 19 in Cincinnati report. Mixon's involvement is unclear. Deputies placed crime scene tape around a home on Ayers Road sometimes during the evening. A neighboring home is the same, listed as Joe Mixon's home address in a warrant for his arrest issued early in the year on charges that were later dropped. So they knew it was his home, at least his home last year. So they're not unsure that it's even his home right now, according to this report. But it was his home during that warrant earlier last year. And so there's at least one evidence marker in allegedly Mixon's yard, and deputies extended the crime scene tape across his home around 11 p.m. A half hour later, they were observing banging on Mixon's door. There's flashlights in the house. They allowed a car into the driveway around 12:15 a.m. Law enforcement officer arrived with an envelope of documents around 1:30. Several deputies entered the house minutes later. Flashlight beams could be seen around the home. 3 deputies entered at 2 a.m. carrying note-taking supplies. Crime scene tape was taken down around 3:20 a.m. and deputies left without making an arrest. So clearly, like as Mike was saying earlier, they got nothing on him because they would have made an arrest. So
yeah, it must.
I don't know.
These kids were playing with Nerf guns. Maybe someone in the area thought they were not Nerf guns. I will say, the forensics when it comes to that, I'm sure they, if they went to that house with a warrant, I'm sure they, looking for residue in the, from the house. They were looking for, it'd be present either on one of them or, somewhere on that in the area where the shots were fired from. And if they would have found it, maybe no one cops to it, but I don't feel like you would have seen them walk away without possible.
No, there's one crime scene marker in the backyard, but what was that? I don't know. It could have been anything, like a piece of trash or something, right? So
yeah, I'd like to hear more. Was it from the house? Was it from the area? Because it could have been a neighbor. You never know. But they'll investigate and figure that out. But that is one issue. And then this also on top of that issue, the Bengals, not a good week for them. Jamar Chase today, an article dropped from his ex-girlfriend, and she's a bit upset. Here we go. Let me read this out for you guys real quick. Sorry, here. Got it. All right. Basically, she quote unquote told him, if you need to stop messing around, you need to, here, let me do the exact quote she used, because she's very upset. His ex-girlfriend's Amber Nicole, and here's what she said. Mr. Chase, you have some skeletons in your closet. I know the real you. Stop dodging the courts and responsibility. You know yourself. I have multiple videos that will end your career in one post. I'll have my attorney at the Bengals facility in 2.5 seconds. You know what's up. So yeah, end quote there. So pretty serious. She posted some screenshots of them arguing, and yeah, it's just not a good day for two, stars on your offense to look like they might be getting themselves into some legal issues here potentially.
Oh yeah, that's never good for a franchise.
Oh, by all means, and I'm actually very curious how the NFL reacts to the Joe Mixon situation. Considering Jamar Chase, that not much has popped up yet other than his girlfriend making claims. So if nothing comes of it, then Jamar Chase is fine. But Joe Mixon is definitely much said. He's had, what is it now, 2 warrants of arrest on him?
No, just the one warrant before. There's no warrant this time.
Yep.
My apologies. So but still, that's not a good look for your organization, whether you're an NFL club or the NFL as a whole. So you generally don't want your players to be having trouble with law enforcement. So I'm very curious to how the NFL approaches this. And I mean, considering their history, probably get 2 to 4 games at most. Kind of hypocritical to me, considering Calvin Ridley got a whole year just because he bet $1,500 on a game when he was taking a year off. But that's just my opinion.
Yeah, that's the harsh penalty. Yeah, they're not. Yeah, this could possibly affect how they issue discipline to other players here. So definitely a good note. Good point there, Aldo. All right.
Yeah.
Should move on to the next topic here.
Do it.
Geno
Smith.
3 years, 105.
Yeah, I just want to hear this out real quick. This is basically a glorified 1-year deal because more than half of this contract is committed to the first year of the contract. So it's pretty much like he's getting paid $52 million this upcoming season, and the next 2 seasons it's going to be around 25. So this is actually a very team-friendly deal, despite the very large number that they have. The Seahawks have a lot of cap space to use this year, and they're using it on Geno. So
he just quadrupled his lifetime earnings here. What a story, man. Earned himself a nice contract, and it sounds like he's gonna usher the next generation of Seattle quarterbacks, because it sounds like the Seahawks mentioned that drafting a quarterback is not out of the realm of possibilities this year. So they might be someone.
So they're still going to be going after it.
Yeah, I mean, we clearly see that the Seahawks do have a history of it, considering that they drafted Russell Wilson right after they signed Matt Flynn to that massive contract, back in 2012.
Off of 5 touchdown performance at the end of the season, got himself paid.
Oh, talk about maximizing your value. But all good things considered, this deal 100% deserved by Geno Smith. He had an incredible year after, talk about a comeback. This guy was put into bad situation after bad situation, and then he just bided his time in the Seahawks until he got his opportunity, and boy, did it pay off. And
he's going to have a football documentary about him.
Oh, 100%, and I would definitely love to watch that 30 for 30. Geno Smith, by all means, he deserves this. Have a day, my man.
Oh yeah, I am all for it too, and I agree. Let's draft new players, because even when Tom Brady was at his prime, winning Super Bowls, they were drafting quarterbacks every couple of years. So it's not unusual. It's just a normal thing.
Here's a beast. See you later. Tom Brady's still good.
Yeah, that's all it is. And then if you get someone good, you trade for him. If you don't, you don't.
Brissett, those guys, learned and played pretty well.
So,
opportunity.
And
backups
another thing to note, Patriots never spent the first round pick on any of those guys. So they got value back for those players. Just goes to show what picking a player that fits your scheme does for you. Maybe a lot of teams should take note.
And it sounds like the Jets think Rodgers fits that scheme because the Packers are letting Rodgers talk to the Jets. J-E-T, Jets. I said this 3 shows ago, pretty sure 2 shows ago. Rodgers and the Jets that could be a Super Bowl producing team right there, man. There's a lot of young talent, really good, solid team, great coaching. Oh man, that's if Rodgers shows up there, that's you got you had the AFC or Offensive Rookie of the Year. Garrett Wilson gets himself a Hall of Fame quarterback. You're going to see some serious jumping numbers there, and he already had a great rookie year. So wow, this is huge.
Yeah. So let's see. Right, Rodgers had a conversation with him Monday. Tuesday should have been when Yeah, Woody Johnson actually. Woody Johnson had one thing to say after Jets summit with Aaron Rodgers, and this came out today. So he said, let's see, Zach Wilson's Jets, who are in the market for a veteran quarterback following Zach Wilson's struggles, second year, have already engaged in friendly discussions with 39-year-old Rodgers, became available via trade. And Rodgers said, "My life and happiness is directly connected to how I feel about football, and it gave me such a deep calm about how I feel about the decision," Rodgers said on the Aubrey Marcus podcast. "I finished those 2 days with a deep love and admiration and blessing in a retired life of fulfilling all the needs I have and spending time with the people that I love." As of last week, Packers brass was unaware of Rodgers' future plans, according to the team's general manager. What's the thing? Oh, yeah. So Woody Johnson said, "We'll find out." Jets owner Woody Johnson said Tuesday upon departing the Southern California eatery, lucky following Whirlwind Tuesday, that included a sit-down with the Packers quarterback at his Malibu home. The Jets went to his home in California, sat down with him. He knows. He's like, "Hey, I love football. Everything's around it." So after all the stuff he did, spend time with family, he seems like football is still a big part of his life, and he loves it. Also, the money, like he's not going to turn on. You have $1 billion. You're not going to turn on a $40 million paycheck for 1 year, right? So it's just something he did, and it seems like we'll find out. Means like the way I read into it is, hey, I think it went well, and we'll find out if it goes through. We'll submit our best proposal, and we're going to see what happens. And so I think there's going to be some kind of trade proposed, at least at this point, and maybe has already.
Yeah, the one thing that I found particularly interesting was that the Packers actually went ahead and gave permission to the Jets to talk to Rodgers directly. There was almost, from what I saw, no report on the Packers and the Jets talking about compensation just yet. So it was very much like the Packers are kind of just letting Rodgers decide, like, hey, if you want to be here, we're not gonna keep you. Like, if you want to go to this team, we're gonna let you go. But we can't. You gotta make the decision. That's the vibe I'm getting. And
I think it's gonna be a first rounder, a second rounder, and Wilson.
I don't think they would part with Wilson.
Really?
No way.
Okay. Well, what if they save like a second rounder and they just give him a first rounder and Wilson?
I think it would be picks. I think it'll be picks.
You think so?
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know.
See getting rid of a young piece like an AFC an offensive rookie of the year, right? You build around that kid. That kid's going to be an absolute stud.
I don't know. I don't know about Wilson. I think he's overrated.
Who was the wide receiver or the quarterback?
The quarterback.
Oh, Mike's talking about their number one receiver, man.
No, I'm talking about the quarterback.
Yeah, I think that's where I wanted to clear the confusion. But Zach Wilson, he's definitely overrated.
Yeah, definitely Zach Wilson. Overrated. I'm like, what are you talking about?
I'm talking about Garrett Wilson.
No, keep Garrett Wilson. Hell no. Zach Wilson, the MILF hunter, as he's known in some circles, allegedly. Throw him in, and it's going to wreck the Packers a little bit because it's like, which one's better? Because I feel like their quarterback right now, once they get rid of Rodgers, is going to be comparable to a Wilson, and I think Zach Wilson. And if you throw him over there, they'll have a quarterback battle that never goes well, and it's going to be a nice for the Bears. So I want them to throw that in there.
There's another thing I actually want to add on to that. Zach Wilson did actually say that his favorite quarterback is Aaron Rodgers, and that he would actually love the opportunity to be a backup for him. So, if your favorite QB is going to be coming to your team and you clearly are having trouble understanding the game, why not learn from a guy who knows the game better than anyone else and who is your favorite player of all time? It seems like a dream come true for him, because even though he's had 2 seasons starting already.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Let's go on to notable releases. First 2 that we just want to discuss here is Chiefs moving on from Orlando Brown Jr. and Frank Clark.
Big salary cap moves from the Chiefs, in my opinion. those big contracts from Kelsey and Mahomes are adding up now. So they had to let go of some top shelf talent. And oddly enough, these are both guys who fill needs for the Bears. So I mean, this is great news for the Chicago Bears, who have all the money in the world to spend right now. So
Bears better have hired like 30 people to call him nonstop.
Yeah, but the franchise tag is still a possibility, though.
No, I think that
they released both these players.
Will not franchise them. They
will them. No, as of a day ago, he wasn't released. I don't know if he's released right now. Let's see.
I don't believe
he did not deploy the franchise tag for a second time.
Yeah,
he's set to hit the unrestricted free agency.
Okay. Unless, they didn't do it. I don't think they are either. I think they're letting these guys walk. So that cap raise, and that's going to be big for team. Like Aldo said, the Bears should definitely be on the phone with Orlando Brown Jr. He's 4 years in the league, I believe. 3-time Pro Bowler. So, it's a guy you definitely want. I mean, he just won a Super Bowl. Defending a broken Patrick Mahomes throughout the most of the playoffs there. So. Yeah, you want to bring that guy in, and that's an immediate fix. Yeah, like Frank Clark too could be huge, nice piece there. Bears got the money.
Yeah,
you need guys
like that. Core pieces.
Yes, huge.
Definitely guys you could build a franchise around, in my opinion. Both of them.
I wouldn't line myself on Orlando Brown Jr. or Frank Clark on Pittsburgh either. Don't get me wrong there, but yeah, I want to throw in there Bud Dupree too. Will not be. Getting brought back as well. He's not a Chiefs player, but he will also be hitting the free agent market too. Solid pass rusher right there. So
yeah.
I mean, definitely a nice rotational player. He's been very solid for the majority of his career. So I mean, he's definitely going to be able to find a home fairly quickly, in my opinion.
Yeah. All right, want to move on to the next guy.
Sir. Patrick.
Matthew Stafford. So, going back to last year, Matthew Stafford had an injured shoulder pretty much the whole year. He got 2 concussions, all separate concussions, 2 times in the season, where he had to go through the protocol and all that kind of stuff. And I mean, if you guys recall, like the big issues he had in Denver with big injuries, like all this stuff's racking up. He's way older than his age in terms of football years right now. Will he retire?
It reminds me of what you saw out of Peyton, where you just can kind of see the strength's not there anymore. He got beat up in Detroit pretty bad. I mean, one of his highlight moment, the one everyone remembers on NFL films, is when he gets absolutely destroyed by the Browns defensive tackle. His name is slipping my mind right now. Destroys him, and he throws a Hail Mary as a penalty. He comes back in with a broken collarbone and throws the game-winning touchdown pass. But, yeah, dude took a beating. And, yeah, I mean, at the age he's at, he won a Super Bowl. It just seems like that might be the best move, to hang him up. Don't try to play too long. It doesn't always end with you winning a ring, The Rams definitely seem like they're moving into a position.
He's got one. He'll be in the Hall of Fame at some point. He's fine. He's great.
Yeah, I definitely agree. He's definitely a future Hall of Famer. Matthew Stafford is just one of those guys where, like, take Andrew Luck, for example. Guy was banged up for a majority of his career because his team just didn't build very well around him. And unfortunately for Luck, his team didn't grant him a release to an already stacked roster like Matthew Stafford was lucky enough to have. Mm-hmm. So, like, who knows what would have happened if the Colts had traded Andrew Luck a season earlier, Definitely, like, we could be if Stafford never gets traded from Detroit, we could possibly have been saying the same exact story between both of these incredible players. So, it's like I said, not every amazing player gets a ring.
Yeah.
Stafford did. You should hang it up.
Definitely agree. And, I mean, good news for Baker, I suppose. I mean, it's always terrible to like get an opportunity because someone else is getting hurt or they're at the end of their rope. But I mean, he's found himself in a position under a really good head coach to potentially be in to put his name back on the map after like getting screwed over by the Browns. Like
I think at best he's going to be an interim quarterback.
They draft somebody.
I don't think he's. Yeah, I don't think
I
he's
don't
got
disagree
it.
with that. I'm just saying it's a real good opportunity for him right now to show that what he can do under a full season with who I think could possibly be a Hall of Fame head coach one day.
Yeah, I agree. All right, I want to move on to the last and final topic of the day. Jimmy Garoppolo to the Texans. Where else could he possibly land? I mean, the Jets' second pick after Rodgers is actually Garoppolo. So Garoppolo is wanted in a couple different places. And I always say, like, New England is always a great place for him. Back home, or even the Raiders because of McDaniels, right? Like, I think McDaniels was his offensive coordinator. If I'm not okay.
Yes, he was.
Yeah. So Raiders. We have the Jets, New England, Texans. Garoppolo's, a big name. He's probably sitting out here or probably California back home, but maybe here in Chicago once it gets warmer. Going to chill here over the summer. So we might see him around, but I don't know. Texans would be a weird place for him. He's definitely the better quarterback. They can pay him because they don't have much, but I don't know. They already got an okay quarterback.
I think G's going the Rodgers route, man, and he's going to look for a team ready to win.
Rodgers?
Yeah, I think. Yeah, I think Garoppolo is going to go that route and try and find a team that's ready.
Miami.
And if the Packers shut the door on the Jets, Jimmy G could be on the Jets. I mean, that's. Like Mike White and Zach Wilson, similar style. They want him to sit in the pocket and throw the ball. That's what Jimmy G wants to do. So,
yeah. I think Miami would be really good for him as well.
Yeah, especially since like Miami is running a similar offense to what Jimmy Garoppolo has been running for the last 4 years, and Mike Daniels over in Miami was his offensive coordinator for a couple of seasons, so they do know each other pretty well. So I would say Miami's probably a better spot than most if considering Tua's health questions right now.
Yeah, I was basically saying if Rodgers, even Garoppolo or Carr went to Miami, that's the team to
They're
beat.
Great. Oh yeah, they're great.
That's why I'm still that's why I'm still really pushing. Nobody talks about it, but Miami needs to get a quarterback outside of Tua. Like, if they do, they're going to be very, very competitive in the playoffs.
No, I completely agree. I mean, don't get me wrong. Like, as a player, I really like Tua, but the guy's injury history is very, very scary to me.
What are you gonna do? What are you gonna do? Trade mid-season?
Not just as a not from an organizational standpoint, but just as like what's going to happen to him if he keeps playing, like we've all seen the horror stories of what untreated CTE can do to people, like with all the NFL greats who had unfortunately lost their lives to it. So it's a very scary thing, and I do really think that Miami needs to move on.
Point. He'd be a good fit.
Yeah. So we'll see how all that develops, but I think we had everything we wanted, boys, and or what do we call them? The Gridiron Bros.
Gridiron.
I love the name. I think it's gonna stick. We finally have our YouTube channel up. We're gonna post all 5 episodes pretty much in the next 5 days. Maybe I'll schedule it out like that. This one. But yeah. There's the end of the Gridiron Bros podcast number 5.
Have a good day, everybody.
Next time.